The screen of my phone trembled in my hand as I read my mother's text. "You're banned from Thanksgiving until you apologize, idiot." The holiday dinner I'd already paid for, turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, all sitting in their refrigerator right now, purchased with my debit card 3 days ago. My father's heart medication, which I'd picked up yesterday, sat in a white pharmacy bag on my kitchen counter, waiting for me to drop it off. I felt a sudden heaviness in my chest, not sadness but something harder, like concrete setting. Blood rushed in my ears as I scrolled up through our messages, seeing my cousin Adam's name appear in the Thanksgiving planning thread while mine had been deliberately omitted. The table I'd helped my parents refinish last summer would be full of family members who thought I wasn't worth a seat. My fingers hovered over the banking app that connected me to every bill they couldn't pay on their own. The one they never acknowledged, but always depended on. In that suspended moment between heartbeat and breath, something inside me hardened into resolve. My name is Amanda, I'm 27, and I've been my family's invisible backbone. This is the story of how I stopped breaking myself to hold them together. For as long as I could remember, our family photos told a different story than the one I lived. Holiday portraits with perfect smiles, Instagram posts captioned "Blessed Family Time," my father's arm around my mother while Adam, my cousin, always stood front and center. The golden child who could do no wrong. What the camera never captured, me transferring money at midnight to cover the mortgage payment they'd forgotten, the calls I made to utility companies begging for extensions, the credit card statements I quietly paid when no one was watching. Family takes care of each other, my mother would say, but somehow taking care had become a one-way street with me providing and them consuming. It started small, helping with a bill here, a payment there. My father's heart surgery 2 years ago had been the turning point. Insurance only covered so much, and I stepped in without hesitation. But after the crisis passed, the expectations remained. Their financial emergencies became my monthly obligation. Last month, at what should have been Adam's promotion dinner, I'd finally asked the question no one wanted to hear. Why do you keep borrowing rent money when you're posting about sales bonuses? I kept my voice low, but the table went silent anyway. Adam's face flushed. Just because you're good with spreadsheets doesn't mean you get to police everyone else's life. My Aunt Nancy leaned in, her voice dripping with condescension. Not everyone wants to pinch pennies like you, dear. It's not penny pinching when it's my account being emptied, I said, the words escaping before I could catch them. My mother's eyes hardened. We don't talk about money at celebrations, Amanda. We don't talk about it ever, I replied. That's the problem. Adam had stormed out, and the evening dissolved into tense silence. I thought it would blow over like everything else in our family, buried under polite smiles and changed subjects. But the text message proved otherwise. I was being punished not for creating drama, but for pointing out the truth they worked so hard to ignore. The group chat for Thanksgiving planning had been the first sign. Names appeared one by one, detailing who would bring what dish. The thread grew longer, and my name remained conspicuously absent. When I finally typed, "Did you forget me?" the response came from Adam, not my mother. Limited seating. Try Christmas if you behave. The phone felt suddenly heavy in my hand. I called my mother immediately, the dial tone stretching into what felt like minutes before she answered. "You're not invited until you apologize to Adam for ruining his promotion dinner," she said flatly, the sounds of laughter and clinking dishes in the background making it clear I was interrupting preparations I wasn't welcome to join. "By ruining, you mean asking why he keeps borrowing rent money while bragging about his sales checks?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. My Uncle Patrick's voice carried through the speaker. "There she goes again, the budget cop." Laughter rippled through the line. Everyone but me was in on the joke. Heat crawled up my neck as I gripped the phone tighter. "You want drama? Then stop using my debit card on auto-pay." Silence fell on the other end, followed by a door slamming. Then the line went dead. 10 minutes later, my Aunt Nancy texted, "Don't make this about money. Family comes first." Hours later, she posted photos of their Thanksgiving preparation, a long table with candles glowing, name cards visible for everyone but me. On Thanksgiving morning, I woke to a feed full of turkey platters and pie slices captioned "Best Family Ever." My phone buzzed with a message from my mother. "We saved you a plate. Porch pickup." As if I were a delivery service, not her daughter. I drove by their house that evening. The foil-wrapped plate sat alone on the porch steps, a neighbor's cat investigating one corner. I left it there untouched and drove away. The next morning, seeking normalcy, I stopped at my usual bakery for coffee. By some cosmic joke, my Aunt Nancy was there, waving me forward like I was a problem to manage. "She's sensitive about success," she told the cashier loudly enough for the entire line to hear. "Keep the small talk short." The cashier's smile faltered. The woman behind me muttered, "Ouch." The shop suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. I walked out without ordering, sat in my car until the heater cleared the fog from the windshield, and tried to breathe through the humiliation. That afternoon, Adam called as if nothing had happened. "Front me $600 for my girlfriend's gift? I'll Venmo Friday." Then he added, "And we'd all feel better if you just said sorry and stopped being difficult." When I didn't immediately answer, he filled the silence. "You know, family takes care of each other." Sitting in my parked car outside the grocery store I'd planned to shop at for only myself for the first time in years, I finally saw the pattern for what it was. Family didn't take care of each other, I took care of them. And the more I gave, the more invisible I became. By Saturday, the noise inside my head had crystallized into clarity. I sat at my kitchen table, my phone buzzing with messages I ignored, and opened my notes app. Line by line, I began documenting everything: dates, amounts, reasons. Tires for Dad's truck, $827. Medications after his surgery, $1,342. Family phone plan no one else wanted to manage, $387 monthly. Internet bill they somehow never paid, $89 monthly. Groceries when the fridge was mysteriously empty, $243 average. Copays for doctor visits they forgot about, $60 each. Emergency deposits before bank penalties kicked in, $2,700 total. As I scrolled through months of transactions, my chest tightened. None of it was temporary, even when they swore it would be. Every "just until next month" became permanent. Every emergency became my responsibility. I typed a line at the top: "What they don't know is about to save me." Sunday morning, I met Beth, my mentor from work, at a quiet cafe. Wooden chairs creaked as we sat, sunlight striping the table between us. I slid a cheap blue binder across to her, filled with printed receipts and highlighted bank statements. She flipped through it, page after page, her face composed until she reached the totals. Then she inhaled slowly, looking up at me with new understanding. "You've been a safety net, not a daughter," she said softly. "Time to cut the net." "Walk me through it," I told her. She did, methodically showing me how to revoke autopay authorizations, transfer accounts, and protect myself legally. Nothing dramatic, just clean, simple steps to reclaim what was mine. On the drive home, I opened my banking app and moved through her checklist like stepping stones across a river. Revoke mortgage autopay. Remove my card from the electric company. Port the phone plan to a prepaid account in my name only. The bills that were never truly mine slid back to their rightful owners, one digital confirmation at a time. By Sunday evening, Adam posted a story, his table full of leftovers, captioned, "Real loyalty isn't about money." The comments section filled with clapping hands emojis. I muted him with one tap, and my screen went quiet for the first time in years. Monday afternoon, I heard my Uncle Patrick's voice in the hardware store as I rounded the corner into the next aisle. "We've got her in line now. She'll come around." I kept walking, bought light bulbs, and tucked the receipt into my pocket, a small promise to myself that I would never again live in darkness of someone else's making. That evening, my mother left a voicemail that started calm and turned cold. "Since you won't apologize, skip Christmas too. And don't embarrass us with your loan spreadsheets." I listened twice, deleted it, and sat still in my quiet apartment, realizing their silence no longer frightened me. 2 days later, the frantic call came. My mother's voice cracked through the line. "The mortgage didn't clear," she said, as if the world had tilted on its axis. I felt something settle in me then, like a stone dropping to the bottom of a lake. "I'll come by," I told her, "and I'll bring the binder." The kitchen smelled of old coffee when I arrived. The blinds were half open, light slicing across the table where my mother sat with her hands folded tight, knuckles pale. My father eased into a chair across from her, his face grey around the mouth, as if he hadn't slept in days. I set the binder down between us. Its cheap plastic cover looked out of place on the wooden table where we'd shared thousands of meals together. "This is private," I said, glancing toward the hallway. "No audience." My father rubbed his forehead. "We thought Adam was helping," he whispered, his voice almost apologetic. I slid the binder toward him, turning it so the pages faced them. "He told you that because I was paying," I said. "Here are the transfers, every one of them from my account straight to your mortgage company." My mother's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. Grocery receipts, utility bills, prescription costs, the phone plan, the internet, credit card payments. 3 years of evidence. 3 years of me. "You banned me from Thanksgiving until I apologized," I said quietly. "So I stopped paying for the holiday you enjoyed without me. And I'm done funding the family that's ashamed of me." The front door opened, and Adam strolled in like he owned the place. He froze when he saw the binder, his practiced smirk slipping. "You're really doing this?" he asked, his voice sharp, as if my choice was an attack. I pulled a clear plastic sleeve from the binder and slid it across the table. His text messages were highlighted in yellow. The dates, the I'll Venmo Friday promises, the weeks that turned into months, the money that never returned. He scanned them, his jaw working, but no words came. "You can call it betrayal," I said, my voice steady, "but I call it a boundary." My mother's lips parted, but nothing emerged. My father stared at the totals on the last page, his eyes wet. "We didn't know," he said again, as if repetition could make it true. "You didn't want to know," I corrected. "It was easier to pretend Adam was your success story and I was just difficult." Adam's face flushed. "You can't just leave them like this." I laughed, a soft, tired sound. "I'm leaving them like adults, which you also are." His mouth opened, then closed. He looked away first. "I'm not asking for anything back," I added, tapping the binder once with my finger. "I'm just done. From now on, you handle your bills." I left notes on which accounts to call and how to set up auto-pay. "I'm not your bank." Silence pressed in. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. Finally, my father's voice broke the quiet. "What about Christmas?" His tone was thin, fragile. I met his eyes. "I'll see how I feel." And I meant it in a way I'd never allowed myself to mean anything with my family before. I tucked the binder under my arm and walked out. The afternoon was bright, harsh, and clean. Each step to my car felt like a door closing behind me. Driving home, I stopped at a red light. Fear rushed through me. What if they cut me off completely? What if no one called again? The green arrow lit and I turned. And in that turn, I realized I'd been living in fear of their silence for years. Maybe silence was exactly what I needed. By the end of the week, the family group chat flickered with awkward messages. "Who can help reorganize bills?" followed by strings of emojis and no volunteers. Someone typed at Adam, and he replied with a single eye-roll emoji. Then the chat went quiet. My Aunt Nancy posted a quote about humility on Facebook, and for the first time in years, no one tagged me underneath it. Adam's weekend photo dumps shrank. No more fancy dinners, just board games under dim lamps. My mother sent a recipe for casserole as if nothing had happened. I didn't reply. 2 days later, another text. "I didn't realize how much you did. We'll figure it out." I read it twice, then set my phone down. At night, I made tea in my quiet kitchen and balanced my own budget. The numbers looked simple when they only belonged to me. Still, their voices echoed sometimes. My father's "What about Christmas?" Adam's "You can't just leave them like this." But then I'd remember the binder, the porch plate of turkey, the way my mother typed idiot in her text as if I wasn't her daughter. And the echoes faded. One evening, my phone buzzed. Adam, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I stood under a streetlight, reading it twice. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because this wasn't about one apology, it was about years of being invisible until my money showed up. At the bakery a week later, the same cashier looked up and smiled this time. What can I get you? She asked. Everything bagel, toasted, cream cheese, I said, just like anyone else ordering breakfast on a regular day. I stepped outside, bit into the warm bagel, and for the first time in a long time, it tasted like something simple that didn't owe me anything. And that was the real victory. Not at the kitchen table, not in the binder, but in the quiet proof that I could walk away and still be whole. The weeks after felt strange, like entering a room that had always been loud and finding it finally quiet. For the first time, my paycheck was mine. I paid my rent, my car insurance, stocked my fridge, and still had enough left to breathe. The absence of their requests felt like a new kind of freedom. My father called one afternoon, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. We set up the auto-pay, he said. Then, after a pause, I'm sorry for making you feel like a purse. The words were raw, unpracticed. They didn't fix everything, but they mattered. My mother tried in smaller ways. She invited me to dinner without conditions, no holidays, no obligations. Just pasta at the kitchen table. She didn't apologize outright, but the hug at the door lasted a second longer than usual, and that said more than words could. Adam stayed quiet. Maybe his silence was the most honest thing he'd ever given me. I kept the binder on my shelf, not as a threat but as a reminder, a memory of what I survived and what I chose instead. I don't know what next Thanksgiving will look like. Maybe I'll be at the table. Maybe I'll take a trip and drink hot chocolate from a paper cup somewhere far away. What I do know is I won't be buying my seat with silence or money. For once, their silence didn't hurt me, it freed me. Family isn't measured by how much you pay to keep your place at the table. Real love doesn't demand silence or sacrifice. It respects boundaries, even when they hurt. I spent years thinking my worth was tied to receipts and auto-pay. But the truth is simpler. I'm not their bank. I'm their daughter. And I get to decide what that means. If this story hit close to home, tell me in the comments. Have you ever had to draw a line with family? Your voice matters here. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next story.